What's going on, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome back to another post-commentary duel video. Today we've got Burning Abyss versus the pure Mekk-Knights. The Abyssal Fiends facing off against the Mekstrosities. I don't know what the lore is behind them. The Floating Sky Knights, this Floating Sky Chivalry, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to be getting started going first here. I'm piloting BA on the right, my brother piloting pure Mech on the left. And yeah, he meets my tour guide with an impermanence, which is pretty unlucky. Definitely put a little bit of a slowdown to my turn, but nonetheless, we're still able to combo here and get started by going Cherubini thanks to that Psychic Tracker, and then sending that Fiendish Rhino Warrior, which of course is going to send Graph. And then right now just debating on what Graph is going to summon. I was debating whether I could go Skarm or Seer. But I really wanted to get into Bardiche with this one, so I figured I would just go into Seer instead. And luckily I have a Sea Archiver in my hand to follow up. For those that don't know what Sea Archiver does, basically anytime a monster is normal or special summoned to a zone a Link monster points to, and that's on either side of the field, you can special summon it from your hand. So Dante will resolve their milling 3. I do hit the Barbar, so I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that by banishing the Graph. He will take the 300 here momentarily. There it goes, popping up for the 300 damage. Now going into Bardiche with the Graph and the Cherubini. And Bardiche is just such a busted card. I mean, the ability to send the Phantom Knight cards to the graveyard, it's not that big of a deal, but it's what you're getting out of it. You're getting to set Fogblade, and you're sending Boots, and you know you're getting another Fogblade off of that, or you're sending Cloak to get Boots to special summon to get to the graveyard to get another Fogblade, like we see in the Orcus combo. I think one thing we're going to see in the upcoming ban list is not Bardiche getting banned, but perhaps Fogblade itself going to 1. Because I think dealing with 1 Fogblade is far more bearable than dealing with 2 or 3 in some cases. You see, I'm also able to go into a Beatrice there, and he's going to get his turn started with the Nightmare Ibli. So Nightmare Ibli is a very cool play starter for pure Mekk-Knights, especially when going to go first. And unfortunately, I did win the dice roll, and with Bardiche around, it is kind of a dice roll format for the most part because Bardiche is so accessible. Just 2+ dark monsters, and it's a Link 3. It's so easy to get into, especially in a deck like BA. And it can just be very, very problematic for a lot of decks just to try and go against, just because you're just dealing with multiple negations, multiple monster negations right off the bat with just little effort. As you see, I already have a Beatrice on top of that, and any other traps or hand traps I open is just bonus to stop my opponent. So right there, he's going to give me Ibli in that same column that Mermaid is, and finally deciding on what column to put it in. Because if you were to have Blue Sky right now, that would be 2 searches, albeit I do still have double Fogblade set. He does summon Timaton. He decides to summon the Timaton in the zone that Bardiche is in. Bit of a questionable play. But it is what it is. I guess, you know, if he summons the Timaton in the same zone that my Fogblade is in, it forces the Fogblade, and that's 1 less monster negation he has to worry about. But he is going to pass here. Unfortunately, did not open up too well. Arguably could have gone into Nightmare Phoenix to try to bait out a back row as well, and that would have been 2 Fogblades baited out. But there's just so many resources used at that point. He's got to discard a card. He's got to link away the Mermaid and the Timaton, which he might as well just keep at this point, because the way his field is set up currently, I cannot use any of those zones that are in the same column as the Iron Dragon Timaton. Same for him as well. I can't use that spell and trap zone, but I have no access to that extra monster zone or the 2 columns below that. And I also have Ibli on my field, which says I can't special summon monsters except for Link monsters, which is really, really unfortunate. But I'm able to resolve the Beatrice here in the end phase, detaching Dante, sending Skarm, adding back Seer, and then end phase adding the Edgem Sabers from the deck to the hand, as I have no really other better targets to add. Now, I make a bit of a mistake here regarding the fact that my columns, or my zones rather, were taken up in this column. I should have put dice down And speaking of dice, if you want to pick up some really cool dice like the ones we used at the start of the video, check out Imperium Duelists. They're the ones who are providing the sleeves and the mats that you guys see in a lot of my videos. Incredible product. Some of the best sleeves I've ever used, and some of the most gorgeous playmats. As you hear, this Thunderstorm 2-player cloth playmat looking absolutely stunning here. And if you guys want to pick it up and get 10% off your entire order, you can use that discount code in the comments or in the description below. So I highly recommend checking out Imperium Duelists. But going to Fogblade, at least I think I'm going to Fogblade anyways. I'm thinking I'm just going to Fogblade the Ibli to turn it off, but I don't really need to do that, and I end up taking that back. But one thing's for sure, I'm definitely going to use this, the Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal, to detach to send any card from my deck to the grave. I'm going to choose Farfa this time around, and that is going to clear the Timeaton, because regardless, I still have to get rid of the Timeaton. Granted, everything on the field is being dropped by 1,000 currently because of Nightmare Mermaid, so arguably I could have turned Beatrice to attack to swing over it, but where's the fun in that? Why not just use the Beatrice to send Farfa, right? I mean, arguably it is a little bit of a waste of resource, but it is what it is at the end of the day. I'm still able to accomplish what I need to do, normaling the Rhino Warrior and linking away the Rhino Warrior and the Ibli into a Link 2 here. And I believe I'm going to go into a copy of Nightmare Phoenix. I think I actually went to go look for my Nightmare Phoenix here because I have 13 different decks, some multiple playsets for those decks, but extra deck monsters I usually only tend to keep around one copy of. But I think I do have a second Nightmare Phoenix somewhere, but it just wasn't in my extra deck this time around. But I also checked my online build right there as reference to make sure I was actually playing a Nightmare Phoenix in this build, and I actually am, because it is just a good generic Link 2 to go into. And I go into the Nightmare Phoenix, discarding the Edgem Sabers, and just go to get that in graveyard to possibly do some Link climbing if need be. It doesn't hurt to have a card like Edgem Sabers in the graveyard anyways, since I basically got to add it for free last turn. So on that discard, he's going to think about what I'm discarding, or I think I discarded the Rhino Warrior, or the Rhino Warrior effect was activating, my bad, after I linked it away for the Phoenix. So he's chaining that call by the card that would have gotten destroyed by the Phoenix. He's chaining that to hit the Rhino Warrior to stop me from sending additional cards to make more plays. So I think the only play that's sort of obvious at this point is to turn everything to attack and just try to put some damage on. Like, I have some cards in my hand. Like, I know I could use the Edgem Sabers here. I'm debating if I want to do that or not. But I have no way to get into Cherubini. Like, making the Phoenix is a bit awkward sometimes. But I end up going to battle phase here, swinging over for 900 and then 25 direct. Because, of course, Phoenix was dropped down to 900 as Mermaid was at 0. And then, of course, once that left the field, the Beatrice goes back to full, putting up to 4,300, putting him down to 4,300. He's going to draw for turn there and scoop, unfortunately, opening the double Ibli, which is really unfortunate. At the time, I was playing, currently, I still am playing triple Ibli in pure Mekk-Knight, just because I think the deck can operate really well going first. The deck has a nice balance of going first and second, especially when siding, which we did not side this match. It's one thing to point out. Although I think going forward, I'm going to start try to incorporate siding more often. I know I say that a lot, but when you have so many resources spread between so many decks, so many extra deck resources spread between so many decks, and then the side deck cards, it gets even worse after that, especially when you're trying to incorporate so many varieties, but especially when I'm doing a lot of this, the duels in-house, sort of speak. But I will try to get some sided matches in for you guys, because Twin Twister and cards like Red Reboot will make a huge difference in this matchup, so keep that in mind if you are a pure Mekk-Knight player yourself. But as you can see here, the positives of Ibli coming in is he's able to normal it, go into Mermaid, summon Blue Sky, resolve the Blue Sky here in turn 1, grab him Purple. Purple grabs him Indigo, and he's going to use the World Legacy Succession here to revive the Blue and go into another copy of Purple, since he has not already used the effect of the first Morning Star that he summoned, but rather going in to use the second effect, much like we see in the normal Draconet combo, where you don't opt to use the first effect of the Morning Star that you make, but you use the second, you use it on the second summon of the second Morning Star that you make. Use that effect there when you have the proper discard target In this case, you're waiting to get that Indigo engrave for him, and in the other case, you're waiting to get that World Legacy World Chalice to the grave. Now, I get started with Mathematician because my main goal is to dump something to the graveyard, maybe a Cal Cab or something to bait out a back row, and then link into Phoenix to clear another back row. But he does have secrets, as I would have guessed. There's really not too much I can do there. Now, I go into Phoenix to get the discard outlet of Graph, and I go to hit the other back row because regardless, I know he can just slide over and negate it if it's bad enough. So I might as well try to force the other back row, and luckily I do, but also unfortunately that is a Called by the Grave and hits my Graph. And of course, the Indigo is going to come back here. Now, I do have a copy of Lost Wind set, but Lost Winding here would have been kind of futile because I know at this point in the game, he could probably go for the OTK, so I'm trying to save this Lost Wind for the last minute. But he's going to go for the Yellow Star anyways, and I'm going to go ahead and chain it to negate Indigo and drop his attack in half, putting him down to 12. But there's one other card that he had that I wasn't anticipating, and that is a copy of Mind Control. Which I think going forward, I'm not going to play Mind Control. I think I might just drop that card completely from the Mekk-Knight strategy. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for an updated Pure Mech from the last profile because I've made tons of changes since, but I'm still, as you can tell here, working through some changes. But I think Mind Control I'm definitely going to drop from the main deck because it's just such a bad card going first, and I think this deck has a lot of going first potential, and there's just tons of other combo pieces that you can play. And he flips up Secrets there to boost up the Yellow Star by an extra 1,000, and definitely securing game there, especially with that Boral Sword. So we're going to go into Game 3 tied up, 1 win apiece. I get started with Cloak, following up with Tracker, going immediately into Cherubini, Malbranch, not Malbranch, but Ebon Angel of the Burning Abyss, sending Rhino Warrior sending the Graph, and then following suit there, the special summon of Seer Malbranch of the Burning Abyss. And here, I don't think I have any other follow-ups. I think I might have I have to use another BA in my hands to be able to go into Dante, because arguably I could have gone into Bardiche there alone and just got double Fogblade with no other monster on the board. But in this case, I valued getting the Dante on board first because I know that Seer would give me that additional summon out of my grave, and I decided to reborn the Farfa this time around. I usually reborn the Graph, but in most cases it doesn't really matter. But going into the Bardiche here, sending Glove since I already have a Boots engrave, so I just set that Fogblade, banish, get another Fogblade, because the Cloak can actually, or the Boots can actually be a pretty decent body to revive later on, and just banishing Cloak there to add a copy of Boots for next turn, setting 3 and passing it over to my opponent. No Scarm in the end phase, unfortunately, and no other BA in hand, unfortunately, to be able to follow up with the Dante. I believe I have I think I have triple Fogblade here, so triple Fogblade is going to be pretty hard to break through, and that's just the hard thing with Bardiche. Imagine if Fogblade was at 1. You'd only have to play through 1 Fogblade, and arguably that would have forced you to play other Phantom Knight trap cards instead of just Fogblade. But it's so obnoxious to having to constantly play into 2 or 3 breakthrough skills. It's just very, very rough for a lot of decks that are especially so significantly reliant on monster effects going through. As you see, he goes for the Instant Fusion there. Thousand Eyes attempts to take the I believe he was going to take the Bardiche. I go ahead and negate that because it's just, I'd rather not him take that card and just open my field up even more, or possibly create more columns for himself, because if he takes that Bardiche, he can place it in whatever spell trap column he would like. So now activating World Legacy's memory, I have the Ash Blossom, which I think is pretty much what sealed the nail in the coffin there. He needed that to go through, but I did open up the Ash, which is going to stop that card, because it is trying to special summon a monster from the hand or deck, which Ash does meet that requirement, so I'm able to negate that. And but this is a matchup where seemingly seeing a Twin Twister and maybe a Called by the Grave, and he could probably very easily play through this field. Even a red reboot would suffice as well. He's going to set one and pass it back to me. I special summon the Boots from my hand to his own that Bardiche points to, triggering the Sea Archiver in my hand, going in for Break Sword, activating Bardiche's effect on the summon of Break Sword, and then Dante milling 3, milling a Farfa and a Tracker, or a Wielder and a Mathman. Not the best mills there, and I did attach a Libic, but unfortunately I have no other fiends in my hand to revive off that. But what I do have is a Fogblade Engrave with the Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves, which if I do get to summon out here, would prove to be game for that extra 1,000 damage. But he does have a clutch called by the grave, which will give him one more turn as I drop him down to 400 life points after taking 25 from Dante, 2,000 from Breaksword, and 2,100 from Bardiche. Now I could have used the effect of the Breaksword to clear his World Legacy key, but I did not see it as a threat because I already still have 2 traps established, and he's in a top decking position as it would seem, and he draws Lee the World Chalice Fairy, which is very, very unlucky, with 2 Iblis still in hand. It really doesn't get any more unlucky than that. In a 40 card deck, drawing that card. I believe he opened double Ibli in like game 1 and 3, or I think he opened like Iblis every game, which is just so unfortunate, but that's a part of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes. No matter how consistent your deck might be, your deck could still brick. Even full power Necroz could brick. Is it unlikely? Is it very unlikely? In most cases, but decks can brick, and that is just a part of Yu-Gi-Oh! Nothing to be surprised at. I mean, when it happens over and over and over and over again, it's one thing, but most times it can just be a coincidence. But Pure Mech still a very strong strategy. So, like even in the last matchup we showed you guys, the Orcus versus Pure Mech, going first, Pure Mech takes that game very easily, much like it did here in game 2 against BA. But like I said, I'll try to get more Pure Mech up if you guys want to see it. Let me know down in the comment section what decks you guys want to see face off on the channel. Preferably decks that I already have, because if you request a deck that I don't have, you're probably not going to see a dual video for it for a long time, depending on what said deck is. So let me know down in the comments, or join Discord and tell me in Discord, or follow me on Twitch and tell me at a stream one of these days. So feel free to do that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. As always, guys, Winterkill signing out. We'll see you in the next one.